In the West, inequality is soaring. Salaries and incomes have barely moved for the last 2 decades, and there's this really widespread sense that the economy is no longer working for common people. I think you, yes, you, probably feel this general sense of pessimism too. But today we're going to be talking about something that's gone largely ignored recently that holds the key to lifting the gloom. It's a neglected and forgotten part of the overall economic growth story. Namely, government debt. And it can actually be an extremely beneficial tool that we've largely forgotten about. But government debt has always had this bad reputation. We're told, often patronisingly by billionaires, that it's placing a burden on future generations to pay back. But let's place those concerns to one side for a second, because there are a few simple reasons why debt is a fantastic tool in the hands of governments. Firstly, and this is key, government debt allows you to invest in the future of your country. Secondly, because government debt itself is an important tool in reducing the overall size of a country's debt in relation to its economy. And thirdly, because it's simply necessary for when the rich won't pay taxes. But the first of these, investing in the future of your country, is by far the most important. And let me be clear. By investment, I don't mean pointless infrastructure projects with questionable returns. I don't mean buying yet another aircraft carrier so government ministers can play IRL Warhammer. I mean investing in people. Without people, there is no economy. And so investing in those people is one of the best ways to increase future prosperity. People create wealth through their work. People spend and recirculate wealth. And when people fall sick or aren't able to access education, the economy suffers massively. And here's the thing. It so happens that in the UK and the USA, we've been underinvesting in people for the last 2 decades. Whether you look at education spending or healthcare outcomes or support to prevent homelessness, the last 2 decades have been a terrible time to be a person in the UK or the USA. Accordingly, if we revisit that criticism we mentioned earlier about government debt placing a burden on future generations, I'm not sure this really applies when those future generations are growing up sick, uneducated and homeless. But let's move on to the second reason, that government debt itself is an important tool in reducing the overall size of a country's debt in relation to its economy. And I know that sounds paradoxical, but bear with me. By borrowing and investing, we can grow the size of our economy in relation to the debt itself. And that is exactly what economists look for when considering government spending. It's pretty simple. If there's a project that will benefit society to the tune of a 10% return a year, and you can borrow money to invest at just 5%, you don't need a PhD in finance to understand that this is a worthwhile investment. And even after the disastrous Truss-to-Rock dumpfire of Liz Truss's 50 days as Prime Minister, the UK can still borrow money at less than 4%, which is even less than inflation. If you're borrowing to grow the economy as we've just described, you also get double points if this kind of investment primarily benefits the poorest and the middle classes. They simply pay more taxes than the rich, so by investing in them, you're increasing the size of your tax base, making the debt easier to pay off in the longer term. And yes, this logic is kind of recursive, but it's easy to grasp if you simply remember that if your returns on investment are bigger than your cost of borrowing, then society as a whole is becoming better off. So while we're talking about investing in long-term growth, if you're enjoying this, could I please be cheeky and ask you to invest a subscription? It's a new channel, so it really helps me out. Thank you. And so the final argument for government debt being good is simply that it's necessary for prosperity. In the UK, we've systematically underinvested in education, underinvested in healthcare, and now those nurses, doctors and teachers hate us, hate their jobs, and are quitting or emigrating in record numbers. Guys, it doesn't have to be that way. Since it clearly needs to be said, you can't have a country without teachers, nurses and doctors. And sometimes government debt is the only way to do that when the rich won't pay their fair share. Sometimes government debt is just the cost of doing business. The business of making the country a better, fairer, more prosperous place. So the next time someone tells you that government debt is bad, perhaps question why they feel that investing in the future of their country is such a bad idea. And consider asking them if they have any alternative suggestions that would help pay for this investment instead. This has been the first of a short series on the oh-so-sexy topic of government debt. If you're still watching, I'm guessing you're either really passionate about economics, or frustrated by the destruction of the last 2 decades of government, or that you enjoy learning. Perhaps all three. In either case, you're welcome to subscribe to Bonobo Economicus to be notified for the next one. Thank you for watching.